What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I'm Ronan Gaine. Joining me, as always, Chris Nambu. We got a lot to discuss on the pod today. We got some free agency stuff. There's still some guys stuck in purgatory out there. We've got some summer league stuff. We've got a game of pretender or contender to play with a few teams that have had some interesting off season so far. We're also going to be taking a look ahead to next season and looking at some potential breakout stars for the 2025-2026 season. But before we get into that, Chris, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. Middle of beautiful New England summer. It's been pretty hot, man. I don't know about you guys. It's been 90 like every single day the last couple of weeks. The nice July 4th weekend was nice. But happy to talk about some summer league or maybe not. Ronan hates summer league. We all know this. I think year after year we've slowly talked a little bit less, a little bit less. You've brought me down to earth. I now know that, our Kevin Knoxes of the world, our Denzel Valentines of the world, maybe you're not going to be as important. Our Jordan Walsh is the world, but we'll see. We'll see about Walsh this year. But excited to get into it, man. Why don't I start with one thing now that I mentioned that? Because I do want to say off air, you've been telling me we're not going to talk too much summer league, not going to talk too much summer league. But when are you going to talk about your boy McCaller? You always have a summer league standout for the New York Knicks. Tyler Kolek, haven't heard of him since. But what about this guy? Can he get you into it? Is he going to convince you to actually pay attention?
I don't know if we can ever do that again after I think Kevin Knox just ruined that forever for me. I don't know, it's tough to really kind of get behind it. I mean, I'd love to see it happen. Like this is the big thing. Like the Knicks, God, could the Knicks do with some of these young guys really coming in and being legit rotation guys? Like that's something that New York is absolutely desperate for, and hopefully maybe we have a coach that's going to be willing to give them the opportunity now, but they've got to go out and earn it as well. So I mean, I'm keeping tabs loosely on what the Knicks are doing, but outside of that, when it comes to summer league, I'm not really not too fast. But Tyler Kolek did have a nice game last night. I do know that.
Yeah, maybe you got a couple guys there. But where do we start here? We have some teams that we've talked about the big winners for sure. Definitely, we've talked about our Nuggets, our Hawks, big teams that have made big changes, the Houston Rockets. Now, we have some other teams that have had kind of questionable, quiet off seasons. Then again, this is not the end of free agency. This is kind of midway through. We still have some dominoes to fall before some of these remaining names move on. But where do we start here? We have, obviously,
I
West,
guess
East.
we go. I think we can we'll get to the bigger picture. Let's just kind of look at the free agents that are still available. Let's look at the player from a player side
Mm,
first. I mean, there's the notable free agents, and then there's the guys who are just kind of really getting
yeah,
stung here
yeah.
by the state of play across the league. Like we still got like Al Horford. You look at him and you're thinking
Hmm.
he really wants to go back to Boston, but if they can't work that, he's probably like, will I just retire? I mean, I think that'll be the best option. Like I said before, remember what we saw when he left Boston the last time, and it all went to hell. So maybe retiring is the best option if the Boston Celtics can't find a way to bring him back. Then you've got like CP3. He clearly just wants the best situation for him. He's kind of talked about this being his last year, so he's going to obviously take his time, wait for opportunities to come for him to get the absolute best situation that he can find for himself in his last season. Then Russ, I mean, I assume teams are trying to lowball him. That's would be my guess. That's why he hasn't really found a home yet. And
Yeah.
also, it's Russ. It's like it's a tough if it's a tough line to walk. I mean, I really hope the connection with the Knicks are not true because I don't want Russell Westbrook on my team as much as he can have that impact and all. He always just as much he gets your hopes up and then dashes them away so quick. And then obviously the last kind of main veteran guy that I looked at is obviously is a guy like Malcolm Brogdon and like there's teams out there that need a point guard that could do with like a six man. But I guess teams are just being scared off of the recent injury history, and I don't even know. He might even be injured at this moment as well. I have no
He
idea.
he has like just fallen into oblivion of just injury after injury after injury on. I mean, and again, how much of that is like real injuries versus, hey, we're tanking. We don't really need you to do anything here. Please, that just stay out. I don't know.
Mm.
But on a team like the Blazers who they kind of were not super tanking, like was not able to be effective, and then Wizards, nothing happening. And I don't know what's next for that guy. I don't know what's next for Russ, more importantly, a guy who is multiple time All-Star, MVP of this league, like a true one of the faces of this league. And I think as fans, like I've had enough of watching him just get clowned. I wish he could just retire with grace. I think that right now that I can't think of any strong fits for him to really contend. What contender needs his skill set right now? And I can't think of many. So maybe he gets to a situation where he gets to just be himself and kind of shepherd along some young guys and teach them, how to be a professional. I think his leadership was key in Denver. Everyone talked about it. So at a very minimum, a veteran who's going to provide that level of leadership to young guys. I don't know if that's where he'd be happy going. Charlotte is part of his Jordan brand. Maybe that's a destination. Maybe the Heat are a destination, but not a lot of news for him. But want to name some bigger names here. And then honestly, before we jump into it, just a quick note on the state of the cap situation. So we got some decently big unsigned free agents in terms of restricted free agents. Josh Giddey still has not budged with the Bulls. Kuminga, I mean, we know that has still been a nightmare. No real movement on any serious trade talks for sign and trades. Um, Cam Thomas is actually still there.
Yeah. Yeah, the Nets are
A
very
guy who
worried
just
about
had a
paying him,
24
man.
point per game season, and we all clown about it, but hey, like those don't grow on trees. We got Grimes out there as well. I think there's still a lot of Grimes stands out there, but not any movement for these guys. And then you look across the league, the entire league is basically cap locked. Like
Yeah.
Brooklyn and Utah have remaining cap space. So anything outside of mid-level exceptions for plenty of teams that are under the second apron, which is kind of runs you the 14 mil range, which is kind of tough for these young guys who, you try to increase your contracts every time you're up because that kind of flattens out your chances to get a big contract in the future, aside from some of these Jalen Green type deals, which I'll mention again later on the podcast. But really, no one else has money. So sign and trades are pretty much the only situation for these guys who want, something around the ballpark of 30 million. So I guess let's talk about first Josh Giddey. How do we think I can tell you how I think, but maybe an outside perspective might be a little bit more unbiased. But a guy who was sent off from the team that just won a championship, he clearly was an issue in the playoffs. And he did show some improvement. He showed a little bit more aggression as a shooter, show that he can take some corner threes, show that he is, when he's a focal point of the offense, can run a really fun, fast-paced offense, and can do it decently efficient. Does he deserve that max extension? Does he deserve 35? Is he a 30? And the deserve part is tough because like it's all about market base, but like what is the value here for this guy?
I mean, it's so tough because he could be put into a position next season where he is complete focal point of the offense and the team, and there's a lot of pressure on him to be bringing up the ball, to be setting up others, and to be a scorer. So like he could be in a position where he is the guy on this Bulls team, but the guy on a team that's kind of middling, closer to tanking than contending. So like it's how much you want to hamstring yourself by paying this guy and then realizing like do they want to like this could be another like a Zach LaVine situation all over again for them
But
if
worse.
they yeah like worse like paying him as that sort of level of money like realistically you look at a guy like him and you want to pay him like you want to get him at like maybe 25 mil a year.
Yeah.
If it was like a 5 year 125 mil deal, I think the Bulls would be more than comfortable doing that. But then Giddy's obviously like I did my bit. I can do more if the opportunity is given to me. He's probably gonna dig in on that. And it's really tough. I think it would be a mistake for them to go for 30 million plus. I don't think the Bulls I think the Bulls should just cut their losses even if it gets to that stage. I don't think they should go 30 million plus for Josh Giddey in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really awkward situation where, again, as mentioned with the cap situation, there's not really a bidding war for Josh Giddey right now, and he's he's a player that has a clear skill set, and you can plug and play him in a fast break oriented, fast team like the Bulls want him to play. So it almost feels like the way the Bulls are building, they make sense together. We
Yeah.
saw that the product on the floor was improved. It was fun. It was competitive, and he was a driving engine of that. But you fit him into some of these other situations, and there's not a lot of teams that make sense where they're going to go out and they're going to sign and trade. They're going to commit long-term money to him. So I'm really curious how this is going to pan out because he's standing fast. Bulls are standing fast. They both want to be with each other, but the reality is that no one else is really competing to be with Giddey at the moment. So where does this kind of end? And it's not a lot of situations like this where I feel like most other years we've seen such big increases in the cap. We've had a lot of teams with money, and because of the recent CBA over the last couple of years, it's been really tough for there to be a lot of movements, and for these guys to get paid. So he's in a tricky situation.
It's like it's obviously the teams have the power at the moment. That's just it. Like there's no other teams that are able to come in and make big offers to really kind of test the waters. So you look at a guy like Giddey, you look at a guy like Grimes, and then the situation comes up. It's like, do they sign a short-term deal and hope that they can get back to it at a later stage? But then you look at the years coming up and like next year, there's so many more big names like LeBron James, free agent, like Beal could be a free agent, KD, Levine, Doncic, Trey Young, Fox, all these guys. Like a lot of them are player options, but they could all be free agents next year. Then 2027, we got the likes of Giannis, AD, Curry, Butler, potentially like Jokic, Cat, Mitchell, like so like a lot of these are player options now. So I'm not saying they'll definitely be free agents, but the possibility is there. So these guys could just get lost in the waters again if they try to like bet on themselves, just sign a short term 1 2 year deal and then hope to hit free agency again and be able to get paid. So it's just really unfortunate for guys like Giddey and Grimes especially because those are two guys that really had like they played contract years last year. Like they
Yeah.
played and they played hard. They played better maybe than they ever have before. And like a guy like Grimes, I'd say maybe he went from like a 10 to 15 million player probably to like a 15 to 20 mil player with his performances last year. And Giddey probably really boasted his stock. He kind of showed what OKC didn't like really use him enough for. So I mean, it is really tough for them. I don't know what the angle they're going to play is, but it's just I don't know if it's a nice thing to see because we know this is such a player dominated league, but it's almost kind of interesting to see the teams kind of have the power again here, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it should like things need to normalize a bit. The way that any player that shows any hint of, oh, maybe this is a future multi-time All-Star. Okay, we gotta max him. We gotta max him. Like, where do teams start to like collectively be like, you're not really a max player. We don't have to give that to you. Like, it's gotta things do have to change, and obviously you see what teams like the Thunder have done. They know what their product is. They know who they are. They're a championship team. So yeah, you're gonna max your guys. You're gonna really give everyone the money that they need. But for everyone else, it's like things are slowly changing and the money is drying up. Um
I
and
think Kuminga is the most likely one to sign like the
mhm.
short-term deal and then maybe get traded at the
Yes,
deadline. I think that's like a more a most he's
maybe.
most likely one
Yeah.
of the those restricted free agents to sign that short-term deal.
Okay. So forgive me, we haven't been on in a minute. I have been itching to do something crazy here, and I have a crazy idea for Kuminga. We won't belabor the whole thing. Like we know, like I think we could talk on and on about how his potential. I think we both agree. Let's start there actually, because maybe we don't agree. What do we feel like his ceiling is now? Because that's been argued, and I think it's actually a really polarizing topic when people think about, this situation.
The talent is still there. I think I would love to see him in a situation where he can be kind of at least at the very worst the second guy on the team, whether that's in a
Hmm.
tanking situation or in a kind of a middling contender. I would love to see him just get more opportunity. Like at the end of the day, maybe he hasn't earned it. Maybe Steve Kerr just doesn't like him, but he hasn't really got the opportunities that I think he's needed within the Golden State Warriors. And like we've seen the flashes, and maybe they are just flashes, but until we really see him in a situation where he gets an honest go of it, where he's a starter for a whole season, where he's playing 30 plus minutes a game every night, Like that's what we need to see, and I think he still deserves that opportunity, and it would be amazing to see him be able to do that on like a shorter term deal with a team, and then really show, okay, is he this guy that apparently he wants 30 million? Let's see if he can be that, because he's not going to get the opportunity to show that in Golden State. It's just not
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. And I think we agree on that. And I think that people like you and I who are a little bit higher on him, I mean, dude, like a big wing who can bully smaller players in the post, who can blow by other big wings his size, who can rebound excellently, who can play the open court. He's an elite athlete. Like a top, I mean, I'd say he's probably top 5, top 7% type athlete in this league. And you don't get a lot of those. And the fact that his shot has been improving. It's not been consistent, but it's been improving. It's there. In fact, he played without the ball. There's a lot of facets to his game that haven't fully blossomed yet that he does have elite traits to him. And because he's on a Warrior system, and I hate the whole like, oh, he's played 25 minutes a game. Well, those have come so inconsistently. Like someone goes out and then he's playing in a system that's not really the Warrior system if Curry's hurt, Draymond's hurt. And there's never been a consistent role for him except for stretches of games where it's like, wow, look at this. And then Curry comes back, Draymond comes back, and then back to the bench. Barely even played in the playoffs. And I want to think about, and I want to think if you have an answer off the top of your head. And we think about another team, who's going to want him the most? Who's going to maximize his talent the most? Is there a team that you think of when you think of that?
I mean, I think it's. I mean, I quietly like the idea of Chicago. I'm not gonna lie.
I hate
That
that.
idea
I hate that. I
isn't
hate it.
crazy. You
I
hate
think it's
it.
terrible. I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible because you have Modest, you just drafted a Sungay. And not to say like, oh, those players are so good that we shouldn't get Kuminga, but I think that similarly to Cam Whitmore going to the Wizards, I'm me being excited about that and then realizing they have 700 forwards, being like, oh, that's kind of tough. There's a lot of players sharing that position. And young players at that. So I don't know. I think the infrastructure isn't quite there. And the reason I hate it too, like for both sides, is that it brings into a potentially unstable situation that won't clearly be good for him or good for the other team that has to invest a lot. Like I feel like it has to be a team that's
Maybe
willing
Miami then.
to. Miami's possible. I think I agree with Miami. I don't love the spacing around him, but I think just the freedom he'll have there. I think that he'll have much more of a role in terms of being an initiator on offense. Um, and there's not just this. There's just something about him being, you're the rookie. He still almost feels like the rookie, constantly having to defer, never really having the opportunity, and you just see that flourish out of him once he becomes the focal point. Which then again, could happen in the Bulls, could happen anywhere else. But I feel like the Heat in particular are poised to have a much more solid defense around him, playmakers around him. But I have a team. I don't know if you thought about this one, but it's kind of weird in terms of their situation right now. But in terms of how they play, I think it makes like unbelievable sense. I think the Indiana Pacers could make a deal here. No one's talked about it, and it's
Hmm.
not. No one has talked about it. It's not rumored, but just when I think about who's the team that's really in a position to invest in a guy if they think he could be a star and that they're ready to win now and they don't mind the financial consequences of it right now. And I'll get into the money in a minute, but envision Kuminga in that system. He's already an elite cutter. Imagine him running the baseline with Tyrese Halliburton there. Imagine him running the open court there. The amount of touches that he would get on that team, he doesn't have to be. I think we see a lot of his negatives once there's a little bit of chaos with the Warriors, but I think that he would fit a little bit better into the chaos of the Pacers. Like the fast decision making there is a little bit easier than what the Warriors are running. Imagine him there playing alongside Nemhard, playing alongside Neesmith, playing alongside. Um, well, I think Obi would have to be part of this deal. But in a gap year, they can test him out, play with their new toy, get him acclimated to the system, and then when Tyrese Halliburton is back, you kind of have that second star. I mean, Siakam is that, but Siakam's not going to be there forever either. Like, you got to plan for the future as well. And if you're talking about money, the Pacers are in a decent situation also to do a sign and trade that can get him pretty close to that.
Mm.
Doing a sign and trade with anywhere OB, which is a much more attractive, I think, option in terms of what the Warriors would like from a big. I think Obi fits that system decently. I think Warriors would be happy to have a guy like him who could stretch the floor, who can cut well, who's a willing screener, rescreener, moves well without the ball. Like I think he's a guy that would be a natural fit. Um, you get in one of their young wings, whether they want Jarris Walker, um, or another, and then first round pick, and they would be able to pay Jonathan Kuminga $28 million. That would work. And that is more than a lot of teams I think would be willing to. But I think a team like the Pacers could look at that and be like, this guy in our system could be a, I mean, that could be a 25 point per game, 10 rebound type of guy.
Man, they're already dealing with one ex-Warriors bum. Do they really want to go in on another?
Well, that's not even close to this.
No, I'm kidding. I will just start it out by saying I do not think that will happen, but
Yeah.
I am with you there. I quietly would love the idea of seeing that. I think that is a very good fit for him. That sort of system, that style of play. I think he could be like he could take what like a Neesmith or a Toppin is doing within that system and take it to a whole nother level. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say on that. I think you laid it all out pretty well. Like that would definitely be arguably the best fit for him out there in the NBA.
Yeah. And I know it's not the way the Pacers are posturing right now. It's unlikely. They're in a holding pattern. But, there's they're a team that I think is going to inspire a lot of teams and how they want to play, and especially like teams like the Bulls. But I'm just hoping that Kuminga, like we said, can get to a place that makes the most sense for him. Whether that's a Heat, whether that's with the Bulls, tricky there. I don't know. Maybe is there a swap there? Do the Warriors want a guy like Giddey instead? Maybe that would
Yeah.
be a terrible fit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one now, but that would be interesting. But should we go in and talk more deeply on teams? Should we talk a few pretenders or contenders within some of the big hitters that have had some more questionable off seasons?
Yeah, I mean, let's stay with the Warriors then. Let's finish up there because again, we don't know what they can do with Kuminga. It's they've been rejecting trade. I mean, that trade from the Kings was god awful. I'm glad they rejected that. I mean, Carter. I mean, we don't even have to get into that. That was just a ridiculous offer. Um, but maybe Kuminga stays, like you said. Um, but I think my question mark for them on that Kuminga front is just looking at their lineups when Butler came in. And they were top five defense. Their offense is still getting going. Who knows what the postseason would have looked like if Curry had stayed healthy? I think they still feel pretty confident in what they saw once Butler got there and feel like, hey, we run this back. How much better are we going to be after another, training camp, another full season together? Um, but that's still just going to be an awkward point where Kuminga was not involved in any of their best lineups. Their best lineups included Moody. Moody showed, he's a good grinder, rotation guy. He's not looking to be a star. He's looking to just be a part of Kerr's machine that guys like Looney apparently were sick of. So maybe go there too. Clearly, they have a big hole to fill there. Kevon Looney did not have a consistent role as he hasn't for almost a decade. And losing him, Quentin Post now is next man up when they need a big five on the floor. That's tricky. He was a fun
Mm.
player. Like he really added a stretch five that they haven't had consistently, and especially for a guy like him, came out of nowhere. That's impressive. But as a full time, that that might be tough.
No, like they want Al Horford. Don't think they're gonna get him. I think there was rumors, I think last week that they expected Horford to sign. He hadn't signed. And obviously it's Horford again. He's still a guy who's what is he 40 yet, or he's just about to turn 40? Like it's still an
Mhm.
older player that you kind of expect is going to be on the decline anyway. But he's a guy that they've tried to make a deal with. They're kind of in a position now where they're going to have to really push Quentin Post and hoping he really has that second year leap, comes that kind of more consistency just all around on the defensive end as a floor spacer, as a shooter, and like can he be a starter straight away in this team? I'm not really that I'm not so sure. They're still in the play for any big trades that might come about. But do they have enough? I don't think so. I know everyone's gonna be like, yeah, Curry doesn't get hurt. They would have been in the Western Conference Finals. I'm not totally sold on that being the case. I think they're a wannabe contender because they do still have good players. They still have Steph. They still have Draymond. They're still going to be a good defense. They're still going to win games. They could still make a splash in the playoffs. Maybe they win a playoff series, but I don't think they have enough to truly be considered competitors. But at the same time, I do believe that they'll be in any conversations about any potential stars or trades. They'll be willing to be aggressive and make any moves that may potentially be out there for them.
Yeah. I I think that the main reason I'm worried about them is not I think in the regular season they'll be a good team.
Hmm.
I think so. I think that if unless like injury preventing, I think they'll still be a playoff team. With Butler there, Curry there. I think both of them will probably miss time. And maybe that's why it's like, hey, well, Kuminga, you'll have a role for 20 games of the season where we really, really need you, and then we'll just put you back on the shelf. But my concern is the size.
Hmm.
Really concerned with the size. I mean, you look at the Wolves, they struggle with size against them. Um, you look at Houston, I mean, that was a big, big, big problem. Obviously they got through it. But you know, if you're thinking about this is our final shot or one of our final shots, maybe we got two final shots. They really got to fill up in size there. And maybe Al Horford's the answer. I think he would be a tremendous fit there. I don't really know why what's the holdup on that. I think Kuminga's probably the holdup on that.
Probably,
That
yeah.
that maybe becomes incorporated in the deal to make money a little bit smoother. But they really do have to figure out the front court situation there. And I don't know if it was a situation where I mean Looney just wasn't happy there, so he was happy to go elsewhere. So maybe that it was just mutual. But
I
that's
think over
tough.
like the 2 seasons, I think over like sorry, what is it? The 10 seasons he was there. I think he was 2 seasons where he actually had a consistent role and actually played like a significant minute, and then the next year he was just gone. He was gone. There was something else to do. It was his whole experience with Golden State was super weird. Like I think he's a guy that Steve Kerr actually liked, but like I remember what year was there was one of the years in the playoffs. I'm not sure if it was one of their was it 2022. He was their starting center, right? He actually played
Yeah.
like proper minutes, but then like by the next season he was kind of on the sidelines again. It was a very weird situation, so I can kind of understand why he went to a team where maybe he can have a more consistent role. I guess we'll see, but yeah, the size is definitely going to be an issue for them, and at the moment, I assume they will. Maybe they make a deal for Al Horford, maybe they'll make a deal for somebody else, but yeah, I think they're a lot of eggs in that Quentin Post basket right now, and I'm just not so sure if that's the right move for the Golden State Warriors. Let's move on. And what about the Timberwolves? Timberwolves. They're a team that don't worry about their size, but they're running it back minus Nickeil Alexander Walker, and you're just looking at it and thinking, God, can Terrence Shannon Jr.
Yeah.
improve and replicate what he did
Yeah.
last year? Can Rob Dillingham
No.
actually show why they traded up for him? Can he be a role player on this team? And then, like one big thing that I think can cover the absence of Nickeil Alexander Walker is Dante DiVincenzo getting back to New York Knicks level. If he can produce to the level that he did that season he had in New York again in Minnesota, I think we will notice the absence of Nickeil Alexander a lot less.
Mm, I I will not bet on the Dante point because I feel like he just had an out of mind season.
That's
And
fair. He was happy. He was loving it.
that's
That's fair.
probably his peak. And
That's
not to
fair.
say he's gonna get worse. I maybe another year under his belt feels a little more confident there in the situation.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm big on Terrence Shannon Jr., man. I'm really big on him, and I'm really really excited for the season he has here. In stark contrast with Rob Dillingham, which you know he's still he's not going to get bigger overnight. He's not going to get bigger in one season, but that size is still an issue. The decision making is still an issue, and we're still seeing it in flashes here in summer league. Um, you can't be a high usage guard with that amount of turnovers on this team that cannot deal with more turnovers. They're already
Yeah.
such a tricky team with turnovers. You can't expect to be in the rotation and play like that. So I'm really concerned with Rob, to be honest.
Hmm.
Because he does have a skill set they need. They do need an initiator. They do need a guy who's going to create offense, but they need a guy who's going to come off the bench and create efficient offense. And Terrence Shannon Jr. now with Conley being another year older, with Nickeil Alexander-Walker departing, he's going to have a ton of opportunity. And I think he's shown plenty of not just flashes, but real NBA minutes, real playoff minutes where he has no fear, no hesitation, and he knows exactly his role. And he's going to be a guy that I think is going to really show up in a big way next season. I'm actually pretty excited with their incoming crop with Clark, with Terrence Shannon Jr., with Baron J that they're seeing in
Yeah.
Summer League. They've got guys. Hey, see, look, I'm talking about Summer League. It's important. Not to say that they're wow. These are look at with them playing Summer League. These are NBA ready guys, but I think that it's been kind of a growing issue the last couple of years. Like, hey, where's your next crop of talent coming from? Like, are you developing a program? Are you developing these young guys that you're investing in? Miller, we've not seen really any significant improvement, even though I've been pretty high on him. Hopefully, getting better in the G League, but doesn't seem like that's coming to fruition. But they've got a couple of guys who can replace Nah, and I think I just want to look a little bit big picture with the Wolves because it's a weird narrative that I've noticed has kind of seeped across NBA fandom that I feel like we've just become Wolves haters just because Julius Randle's there, Gobert is there. It's like, so what? They made the Western Conference Finals
Two
twice.
years in a row.
Who cares? It's like we forget about it immediately. And then Houston
Yeah, it's
gets
like when
KD and it's like, oh,
they don't
dude.
do like they don't do like they just do like the same thing twice in a row. It's like, oh, that doesn't matter. Oh, they did it twice in a row. Okay, who cares? They didn't do the better thing, so yeah, they suck. Yeah,
Yeah.
that does happen. Yeah.
In a league that's obsessed with, records and obsessed with championship chasing, like, can we at least give them credit for making the Western Conference Finals twice?
So this is the Wild Wild West. We talk about how incredibly talented and tough it is to get out of the West, and yet we don't give a team credit for going to the conference
Yeah.
finals 2 years in a row. A young team at that, with whose best player is still only 23 years old. Like I think, yeah, there definitely needs to be more credit given to the Timberwolves, and I'm excited to see what Anthony Edwards adds to his game this offseason. Like I said
Yeah.
this
He's not
before on
going
the
to tell
pod, like
us. He's not going to
yeah,
tell us
like
this
we
time.
saw we saw him really go in on the 3 point shot. Let's see what's next. This is a guy who's getting better every year, and I think I'm super excited to see how he takes his game to the next level next season and another year alongside Randall. And then you look at like I'm not saying your Berenger is going to come in straight away and be a role player or anything like that, but can he be the guy that can ultimately replace Rudy Gobert maybe 2 years, 3 years? Like that'll be a huge thing for Minnesota moving forward.
Yeah, at least at the minimum, adding depth because if Reed goes down, there's kind of
Hmm.
tough to is Leonard Miller the next guy up? Well, you got some competition there. Um, yeah, but just to, like checking the narrative because you look at last year's standings, got the Thunder, Rockets, Lakers, Nuggets, Clippers, T-Wolves sneaking in there at 6, and obviously it's so stacked. But I feel like from what we've seen from them in the second half of the season, how they really started to come together, how that defensive effort and that leadership from Randall really turned things around as well. I want to say that I don't view them as worse than the Rockets. I don't view
No.
I love the Rockets and
They're
I will
different.
stand on the Rockets all day long. I think they're going to be a
The
top
Rockets
four seed
appear
next
deeper on
year.
paper. That's kind of the reason you look at them. They're that little bit deeper.
They
There's
definitely
there's
are.
there's
Yeah.
those young guys that you still think, oh, maybe these young guys could be like superstar guys. They still have those sort of things. That's why I think you would like forget about the Timberwolves. But the Timberwolves are absolutely a contender, and they're one of the three teams that I think really is going to challenge MLKC next year. It's the Timberwolves, the Rockets, and the Nuggets for me. We've already talked about Rockets and Nuggets. We're not going to talk about them here, but the Timberwolves are absolutely in that
Yeah.
class with those two teams.
Yeah. I feel like I felt the bias like there with me as soon as I'm thinking about their offseason. I'm like, all they did is re-sign Randall. Like they didn't really change things up. Are they really happy with that? And they're like, wait, no, 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 no. They ran into a tough matchup and they didn't make it out, and that's okay. They ran into the champions, they didn't make it out, and that doesn't mean just because they can expose Julius Randle's weaknesses in the Western Conference Final doesn't negate the fact that he had an excellent playoff run to that point. Doesn't negate the fact that they made it there. And I think we have this reductionist mindset that I think is unfair to this team that has been consistently good and faced some serious adversity and really come on the other side of it. Like we're almost a year removed now of the cat trade where we just had some serious questions about if their season's gonna how it's gonna go. I mean, coming into December, it's like, well, this how is this looking for the future of Anthony Edwards if this is where this is going? And then the Western Conference Finals. I think we can look at this as a positive season and not let that bias continue. And I think that this team is well within their right to just like rely on continuity and the young guys that they have growing that they're showing up in short summer league.
Yeah, I mean let's remember two years ago they defeated the defending NBA champs in the Western
Right.
Conference
Yeah.
semifinals. Maybe they can go do it again next year. Who knows? How about we flip it out to the East? Let's talk Miami Heat. What are they like? Like what is going on with the Miami Heat? Like they're just so stuck in the middle right now. They're still probably going to be a playoff team. They're still playing in the Eastern Conference, which is obviously gotten significantly worse if you think of what the Celtics are having to do, what the Pacers are losing Halliburton, what's going on with the Bucks. So like, there's a good chance they're still a playoff team, but they don't feel like anything close to a contender. I mean, you're looking at their young guys and you're thinking, can they get back to it? I mean, like we saw a huge drop off from Jacques Jr. last season. He had a
Yeah.
really poor
Yeah.
second year. Does he have the bounce back this year? What do we see more from Jovic? What do we see more from Kalea Ware? This young guy, I think a lot of people are high on him. I think they got a steal with the Giaconis in the draft, but what can he do right off the bat? Like this Heat team, I mean, they were embarrassed in the playoffs and they've made a minor improvement, if any improvement at all.
Well, okay. I I think that I think they've definitely improved with Norman Powell alone. I think that they Norman Powell like was a borderline all-star and like realistically, like he could, if he replicates what he did last season, be an all-star level player this season. Like that's within the realm of possibility. They got a borderline all-star caliber player, in Norman Powell for chips, and they are investing in Davion Mitchell. They got another good rotation wing and Fontecchio. I still am a big fan of his game as a good rotation guy. And they just still have depth. They can still keep going. And I think they're just going to continuously put themselves in a position to show that they're competitive and try to outplay their lack of having a star. And who knows when that guy's going to become available. I think they're still in a holding pattern trying to keep an infrastructure together and putting together good tradable contracts and developing these young guys where they're going to put themselves in a position for that next star. Who's going to want out? There's always going to be that situation down the road, and I think they're going to be patient. They've been patient for a while, but I feel like that's their move, and I don't hate it. I don't hate it because I think there's always stars linked to the Heat, and they haven't worked out recently, but who knows?
They're definitely a pretender, though, for sure. Yeah, are you not a little bit worried about a backcourt of Tyler Hero and Norman Powell defensively, or you think
Am I
Bam will kind
not
of
worried
fill
about
in?
that?
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. I think that, as you stagger those guys and you continue to get Davion Mitchell comfortable in his role there, I think he's just starting to blossom as a player. I think he'll continue to improve, especially on this roster. I think it's a dream fit, honestly. And you continue to get another year of development with Ware. You continue to have Bam on the back line and having those two out there together too. Like those were some very interesting two big lineups that the Heat haven't been able to do for a while. Um,
I'm
and
excited for that this year for sure.
yeah,
We're going to talk about this later. I'll just bring him up now. Like Kaleo Ware is definitely a guy I'm looking at. Like, can he like Can he really kind of improve his like kind of his rim protection and that his floor spacing? Can that be that little bit more consistent, that little bit more legit this year? Because then that'll be huge for this Miami Heat team. Like I think Bam's more comfortable at the four as well. So I mean, having that double big lineup, well, I think that'll be great for them, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, no, I think he's got huge potential there. I still feel like he's a couple years away. I feel like he's a
Hmm.
couple years away, but they have young guys to build with, and I we know that this Heat team is not going to tank. They're never going to try and tank. And for a team like them, that's a destination team, staying in the middle is it might not be a terrible thing if they've stacked enough tradable contracts to make something work in the future. Who honestly knows? We never know who that star is going to be. You never
That's
know.
true.
Everyone's always preying on the downfall of Giannis and Bucks and waiting for that to collapse and hoping to be that next team. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But then I'll see. Well, we might as well stick out east. So we talk about the 76ers.
Yes, yes. And on that note, they've got some second year players that should be interesting. Man, I just read an article the other week about like how things are coming together. Everyone's on track. Like we have an exciting summer league. Look at VJ, 30 points. I mean, that dude's looking exciting. And his finishing is in an NBA setting or a sub NBA setting is already looking a lot better with the kind of NBA spacing that you see. And then PG gets surgery. Big surprise. And no one will
Why the
disclose.
hell has he waited so long to get this surgery?
No, it just happened in training.
Oh,
He
of
he he was,
course.
he was training and he had some knee injury, so they won't say what it is. And I think that's interesting. You would think that if it's a pretty minor injury, which it probably is because it's arthroscopic and he's going to be fine by training camp apparently. Um, but they're definitely interesting in a wide open East where the Celtics are out pretty much. The Pacers are probably out. They're still going to be competitive, but the 76ers who just lucked their way into another draft pick after a terrible season. Like, what are they going to do this season? What does this look like?
They simply have to be a contender. My God, like it's just been
Do
like
they?
it's just they have like as in like they have to do it. Like they have to be. It'll be so embarrassing for them with like the inclusion of like Boston kind of having a bye season and maybe the Pacers someone having their bye season as well. Like Embiid got to get healthy. I think the word on the street is that he still hasn't returned to on-court activities yet. I think that
Yeah.
was the last update that we saw. We're gonna get like it's just this the 76ers just been such a disaster show. Every time you want to believe in them doing something, it just feels like it's such a shit show. Can we just get 1 year? Can we just get 1 year where they're healthy? Please. I have no belief that it's gonna happen, but like I'm a big Joel Embiid guy.
Yeah.
I would just love to see 1 year. If that like, can we just get one? Maybe we'll never get another one after that. Maybe just 1 year where he's healthy for the season, healthy for the playoffs. Let's see what this team can actually do because they have a lot of talent on this team. I still believe Nick Nurse is a great coach. The health is key for this team. If they can all be healthy, I don't see any reason why they aren't a top three seed in the Eastern Conference next year. There's too much talent on this roster.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. So best case scenario, right? I have some questions about the best case scenario, but best case scenario, everyone's healthy. Paul George's knee is fixed. Embiid's knees are fixed. They don't get injured at all because that doesn't happen anymore. Best case scenario. They have three electric athletes. Two of them who are dynamic playmakers, dynamic shot creators, willing passers, great off the ball. Just dream fits, honestly, next to Embiid. And I think that we'll see what we get out of VJ in the system, but a guy who's going to play well off the ball and play great in the open court. And they'll have it's a question of whether it's going to be a beautiful mesh of playing fast and then playing methodically with Embiid, or if those things are going to clash on the court, and that will be a development thing. That'll be something that will take a little bit of growth. And there's going to be times where they're going to challenge VJ. Hey, can you shoot? Embiid's in the put like, are you sure you can shoot? And he's going to be challenged, and it's going to be good for him to be an active player off the ball. But say it's a worst case scenario. Like this last season was like a nightmarishly worst case scenario because you saw Jared McCain coming up. How exciting was he? And he gets injured. Like on top of what's already going on, Paul George having the worst season of his career.
Mm.
So can't get worse than that. I think the realistic worst case scenario is I think Embiid is approaching retirement, gets injured
Okay.
again. Paul George maybe approaching retirement, gets injured again. I see a pretty decent chance in January. We're talking about these guys out for extended period of time again. But
Yeah.
as long as we don't have the nightmare situation, Philly, you got three dynamic, fun, fast guys. Can we get a system where they can play fast, where they can really stretch the floor, where they can bring in exciting products to the floor and start to take steps forward? Maxi has gotten better year after year. Had a little bit of a off season, but dude, like who's gonna blame him for not taking a step forward in a season that
He
was
was
as
hurt
broken
too, and
as
he
it
had
was?
he had to do literally everything possible because he was like the
Yeah,
only one on
it
the
was
floor
insane.
ever.
Yeah. So how much more can Maxi grow from the adversity he had this season? How can McCain continue to get better? We've seen that, like, I think McCain was actually one of the most interesting surprises over the last few years. There's a guy who's talented coming into the draft, lottery pick, but for him to be as NBA ready as he was for the physicality, for the shooting, for the pick and roll reads, and we've been mentioning we'll just sprinkle these out here and there, but we're thinking as we're talking about these teams about second year standouts, who's going to have breakouts. Dude, I think Jared McCain could be in for a big year. Like
Yeah.
in 1 month, we saw him average 19 points per game. And we saw in his first start against a fully healthy Cavs drop a 34-point double-double. And it's just the confidence he has, the handle he has. He's just got great control of the game and is never sped up. Like he's got great pace, plays off 2 feet, like stuff that you don't really see from rookies. Um, and I love that coming into the season, it was like, oh, this guy is like kind of a TikTok star, paints his nails. Is he distracted? Is he really like a professional type? Dude, he's an animal on the floor.
Mhm.
Talking smack. He's getting fired up. And I think it's almost like, I think it's almost like he doesn't care. And he's talked about it too. He's like, he doesn't care. Like he's so locked into the game and he's so unbothered by people's perception of him. And I think that alone is such an intangible to what's going to make him be more successful early on. I'm really excited for him to come into the season.
Yeah, no, like I'm just excited to see a full year, a healthy year from him. That'd be great. But obviously, there's something in the water in Philly that no one's allowed to have a fully healthy year when you play for the Philadelphia 76ers. Just not allowed. But yeah, hopefully we get to see that this year. And like that's what you want to see. Like even if maybe it is like you said the worst case scenario, and it's like the end of PG and it's the end of Embiid. But it's the beginning of the VJ, the Tyrese, the Jared McCain, and hopefully we get. I assume we'll get to see Quentin Grimes back on that roster as well. And like they're in a position where we get to see those guys going out and doing their thing. Like they could still be a team that could probably be competing for a top 6 seed in the East because that's how weak the Eastern Conference
Yeah.
is. Like it's still a possibility that could still happen for them. So I think their worst case scenario could quietly also turn into the ultimate like best case scenario for them in a weird sort of way as well. But like I said, hopefully it's the best case scenario and being Paul George are healthy. These guys can still grow around them and the 76ers give us just 1 year. Just give us 1 year and let's see what you're about.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Raptors?
The Raptors.
Relevant team,
Oof.
right? It's a
I
team that
mean,
like year after
yeah.
year, I'm like, I just am like slowly and slowly, and now I'm just like more and more having no faith in. We didn't talk about the fact that they fired Masai Ujiri yet. Interestingly, after their draft, it was kind of a running joke in some circles about, especially in talking about CMB, Colin Murray Boyles, how he is the exact type of player, him and Asenge actually, the exact type of player that the Raptors would get, but absolutely should not draft. They have too many guys like this. And then they went out and got him. Um, so from a draft perspective, question mark. Masai Ujiri, fired, looking at their roster, more importantly, looking at their cap sheet, there's only 4 teams that are in over the second apron. Why are they over the second apron? Or sorry, the first apron. Why? What are they doing? How? I don't understand. It's 76ers, New York Knicks, and I'm blanking whether that was the Celtics. I believe the Celtics. Contending teams. What are they doing there? And now I have to like take a step back and think, okay, what are we missing? Can they potentially, with a roster bringing in a fully integrated Brandon Ingram, does that change things? It's another year of being together. Does Grady Dick's development and maybe them understanding how they play a little bit more? Can that make sense? Is there anything I'm missing here?
Uh, no, not really. I mean, it's crazy to think Brandon Ingram still hasn't played a game for the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, they traded for him at the deadline. He's a significant contract. They've obviously paid big money to Jakob Poeltl. They paid big money to Emmanuel Quickly, to RJ Barrett, to Scotty Barnes. Like they've invested in guys and just like without what feels without like a clear plan. They've just kind
There's
of
no
paid guys
plan.
and just like kept it going. Like they've got a lot of talent on the roster, but it's like a lot of middling talent and it's a lot of unproven potential talent is there as well. Like the Scotty Barnes, like they maybe they believed in him maybe that a little bit too much. We still haven't really got to see the full experience of Scotty Barnes that we all kind of wanted to see. It's just very messy. But like I was high on them last year. I remember being high on them last year, and they didn't really do anything. I mean, can I really be high on them again and expect them to do more with the slight changes in their roster? Like I don't think I can.
Yeah, I mean, the beginning of the season, it's like, whoa, RJ,
Hmm.
okay. And then he kind of came back down to earth. And then we didn't see any serious uh, steps forward with Scotty Barnes. And I think that it's trying to fit a square peg and round hole with a lot of these guys. Is that they are individually talented guys with some niche skill sets that just don't work together. And I think they're in a position with good contracts. They have a lot of good contracts, just too many of those contracts. Are they in a position to make a trade? Masai's not there anymore, so it's going to be really interesting what will come next because this is his project, this is his team. What is management going to do? And I think that's the other reason I brought them up because the the offseason is not over.
No.
How aggressive does this management get to clean up their books and to consolidate this team a bit and get rid of some redundant talent and maybe recoup some assets in the process? But I couldn't help but bring them up as I'm just looking through the cap situation across the league and I'm like, wait, they are over. Like, what is going on there?
A pretender that's spending like a contender. That's what the Toronto Raptors are.
Do they? I mean, in this current Eastern Conference, do do they make the playoffs this year? Do we see a situation where they make the playoffs?
I think we could see it if this like combination of talent somehow works. It feels like it could just be a little bit too, like you said, like square peg in a round hole. Like that. It just feels like it's the way it's going to be. But there is a lot of talent there. There is a lot of scoring punch. They can potentially be a good defensive team. So like there is the potential there, especially in the Eastern Conference. Like there is the potential there to see it. I'm just not 100% sure it works as much as it'll need to work. But again, you look at it like who are like, if you think they're one of the teams that can compete for the fifth or sixth seed, say take the Cavs, the Knicks. Well, probably that's it. Is it the Cavs, the Knicks, maybe the 76ers? They're kind of the top three, and then maybe you're looking at the Bucks, possibly the Celtics and the Pacers, and then you kind of have the Raptors in there as well. Like, are they the best of the rest out of the, like, are they like, who are they better than? Well, I guess the Pistons are obviously up there too. You're looking at
They're not even close to the Pistons.
who are they like definitely better than? And it's maybe like the Wizards, the Bulls.
No, I don't even think they're better than the Bulls. I actually reject that.
You're gonna reject that, of course, yeah. Well,
Well,
I
no, 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 no.
respect you. I respect you doing that, but
Well,
you're
the
probably
the,
wrong.
re the reason why is like because the thing I just keep coming back to with them is who are they?
Yeah, that's very true.
What do
They
they
have no
do?
identity. Yeah.
What do they do? What are they when they walk in the court? Like what do they like? It's so easy to defend them. Like they have no one who can really like truly create. They don't have any real like perimeter shot creator. Like Grady Dick, maybe I went a little too crazy on him last season, but that's it. Like
No, hopefully, like he can become like a legit like 3-and-D guy. Like that's like, can he be like they're all like an ultimate sharpshooter for them and still be like acceptable defensively? Like that'd be a nice need for them.
like unless Brandon Ingram is the second coming of KD in the second half of his career, then I don't
One thing I
see
will
what
say,
happens.
I could see the Toronto Raptors being a team that could have the most players score 20 points in a season ever. I could see like I could see like there could be like I could see like Barrett doing it for like five plus games. Like Ingram could do it another time. Scotty Barnes could do that. IQ could do it at another time. They could have a lot of guys that could just randomly pop off during moments. But I'm
Honestly,
not saying that will actually bring wins.
is that the new regular season strategy? You get enough streaky guys and you figure out what months they're the most streaky. You feature them those months, and then maybe things work out, and then you just figure it out in the playoffs. I don't know, but
That's as good a good explanation as anything what the Raptors are trying to do.
I have more faith in the Hornets making some miraculous turnaround, just because I believe in their roster more.
Yeah, it's the Hornets,
I
though,
think their
so that
roster
can't
makes more
happen.
sense. I just don't. I can't make sense of this team. Uh,
I'm gonna bring
but
this up later
anyways,
when we talk about
uh,
about breakout players. I'm gonna talk more about the Charlotte Hornets, but that's interesting. But yeah, okay, let's finish this out. We're to go back to the West. We've got the bigger conversation to have is about the Grizzlies. So maybe we'll start with the two LA teams out in the West. The
yeah.
Lakers are there. They're kind of disrespecting LeBron while they stress over Luca signing his contract. The Lakers are very stressed about whether or not Luca is going to sign with them long term, and that's understandable. They're like LeBron. It's a little bit. I'm sure there's a little bit of disrespect being thrown LeBron's way, but it's also his ego's getting a little bit hurt because for the first time ever, he's not the guy, and they're right. Luca should be the priority, but the decisions they have to make moves to appease Luca as well. Luca's not just gonna be happy with them standing pat and doing nothing. Like they have to make moves to build for the future, but also build for now. Like it's not just about the future. I know they're not building around LeBron anymore, and LeBron wants to win and that, but they have to show Luca that they're going to be aggressive and they have the cornerstones for him to win with LA as well.
So tired of the LeBron Lakers drama, honestly.
Yeah, I know. It's
I'm
he's just
so
having fun.
tired of
And
it.
Rich Paul are just having some fun
So
as they
tired of
like to
it.
do. To be fair, as they like to do.
They drafted his son. They gave him a guaranteed contract. They gave him a roster spot.
Have you not seen him in Summer League?
Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah,
Puts
Summer League
another
doesn't
way.
count when it's Bronny
Yeah,
James. I'll
yeah,
say,
it does
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
It is so it's such an awkward position to be in. And we'll see how Lakers operate now with new management. And maybe this is it. Maybe this is a symptom of new management. It's like, hey, like we aren't like LeBron's organization. We are the Los Angeles Lakers. We're the Los Angeles like we need to prepare for the future. You're not our future. You can't lead us to a championship.
They're
You
never the
did
Los
it.
Angeles Lakers. They're always run by a player. We know that. Come on.
But like I think Luca has not been a hands-on guy. It's not his style, and I respect that. And I think it's for the best. And that would be interesting. It's in my heart of hearts, to my highest of hopes that Luca leaves this organization. It's everything they deserve. It's everything they deserve. And that would at least clear up all the crap over the years, man. All the crap tied to corruption in this league and everything being rigged ever since the Davis trade and Zion gets drafted to the Pelicans. What was the chances of that? Less than 2%. Oh, that's crazy. Oh my God, the Lakers traded for Luka Doncic for nothing. Okay, AD, sorry. That's not respectful. But that was insane. Oh my God, the Mavs got the first pick. Was a chance less than 2%? That's crazy. LeBron James went to the Miami Heat and paired up with all his friends And then the Cavs got that's crazy. Wow. Maybe Luca leaving the Lakers maybe will rid us of all the conspiracy theories that have plagued and legitimately been talked about. But yeah,
Man,
I feel.
that was a beautiful rant, man. I love that.
But I mean, on the Lakers front, I think they're toast. I mean, with
Yeah,
on the defensive end,
it made me
I
so
think we don't
bad.
even. It's going to be untenable. We'll see how. Here is this fifth year in a row talking if Luca's going to show up in shape. We'll see if he does that. Maybe LeBron has taught him a couple of tricks of his 40 years of staying healthy. Maybe not, but who knows? I'm interested to see what Jake LaRavia looks like there. That should be fun.
I still believe he can be a role player somewhere. I still believe there's potential for him to be like a role player. I'm not saying he's gonna be the difference between him being a contender or not or anything crazy like that, but he can still be a legit like starting role player. I still believe that he has the talent to do that in
Who?
Laravia.
Yeah. I think he's gonna be great there. I think he's better. I think he's already better than Rui. Uh, he's a more dynamic cutter. He's a much faster decision maker. And I mean, as a shooter, they're pretty comparable. I think we've tried enough to see what Rui is like, and that experiment has shown us he's always gonna be inconsistent. So that I think that ultimately maybe he'll be a long-term replacement.
Hmm.
Um,
What about the Clippers then?
Clippers are interesting, man. I like their pivot.
It's a
Losing
2 year plan.
Powell, it is
It's the 2 year plan because they have literally got pretty much
nothing.
everyone is under contract until 2027 and then it's done. They can
Yeah,
clear the books then.
yeah. I I have questions about that. But I don't know if we got a chance to talk about them adding Brook Lopez, but man, that front court defense is gonna be fantastic.
Hmm.
They 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 are gonna continue to be a top five defense in this league. The question is replacing Powell. I think you're going to get a lot of fun rim running with Collins, especially playing him with James Harden. James Harden is on the court and Powell's on the court. That's gonna be a fun pair. Get a little Lob City action back in LAC. Um, but I don't know. I don't know where the rest of the scoring comes from. Norman Powell is no joke keeping them afloat offensively. He's such an important part of that team when they would not be able to create anything and just hand him the ball and he just goes off right off the bench, especially when Kawhi came back. If Kawhi's going to be out, which we expect him to be every season, it's
Hmm.
fair. We have this new model of just don't show him up until halfway through the season, then he'll be ready for the playoffs. Who's going to score there?
Yeah.
That's my question. Who's scoring the ball?
No, that's very fair. I think obviously they're obviously the dream. They have no right to believe in this dream, but obviously their dream is that Kawhi's healthy and he can get back to being a top five scorer in this league. But we know that's
No,
a pipe
that's not
dream.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
a
the
pipe
pipe dream
dream.
is that you keep him healthy the whole season, and then
Yeah.
he's healthy enough in the playoffs, and then you're like cooking with gas.
Hmm.
So
And then like obviously there's Harden and Harden can still score the ball, but it's still the Harden scoring, you know. That's it still there's still obviously like an asterisk to that as well. So yeah, I think that's kind of the next that's like the last hole that they need to plug. Like how much scoring can they get from Bogdanovich? He's another guy. He can be a spark plug, but I don't think you can rely on him consistently. Collins is somewhat similar. He's a guy who can maybe average like 15 or so points per game, but I don't think they have that other guy outside of Harden or and Kawhi that can bring you that like 20 points per game per night, and that could prove to be a problem for them, unless they're just kind of being going to be so confident in their defense being that good that they don't need it. Maybe you know.
yeah, I mean that's fair. Um, I think Collins maybe he's a guy that you think of as maybe he reclaims a bit um of his ascension when he was in Atlanta. It's been 4 years since we've really seen that, but I think it's possible. He had a pretty decent season this year, 19 points per game. Um, Give him a bit more opportunity, maybe get him a little bit more on the ball. But yeah, it should be interesting to see how that susses out. But I'm curious. My big question for them, maybe is outside of this season. We know what they're posturing to do, and it's to be a destination. Are are they a destination now? Have they changed the Los Angeles Clippers significantly? Has their brand significantly changed? Like thinking in the macro, like
I
they're
think
always
there's
little
been a
brother.
change. I think they've
Yeah,
made a change. I think they're definitely still in the little brother sort of category, but it wouldn't surprise me the new arena, the willingness to invest, the willingness to spend. That's going to be intriguing for guys, and if you want, like you were talking, like it would be the greatest thing for the Lakers to lose Luka. Maybe he wants to stay in LA and just goes on rolls on over to the Clippers and starts again there.
the like that would be hilarious. But I think you think about organizational success, and no, they don't have the championships. No, they don't have the deep playoff runs. That's not something they were lucky enough to have due to lack of health. But just comparing how they've moved, how they've been smart about contracts. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The SGA trade. Nobody was calling SGA future MVP. Get out of here. Don't do that. But I think they've done things that have made sense for star players. They've shown that they know how to get right rosters around them. They have Ty Lue. They have that new arena. They're not changing up. They're not getting heckled in their own home court anymore. And it just feels different. Like it feels a lot different from the kind of underdog Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, Lob City vibes, and how they're kind of just this cute like upstart team with the Tobias Harris team. And now they've really come into their own. They haven't had that success, that top tier success with Kawhi and with Paul George, but it feels like they're ready to, make that jump.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
not. They haven't taken over from the Lakers by any means, and maybe they never will. But they've definitely jumped up a tier, if not two, from where they were before the Kawhi, Paul George trades and signings. They've definitely jumped up a tier to in terms of being like a destination, in terms of being a team that you kind of believe are gonna do all they can to kind of always be in contention, to sign free agents, to be competitive season after season.
yeah,
Maybe,
they've
maybe they
always
become
been.
the Western Conference version of the Miami Heat.
Maybe. No, I love that comparison actually because like they've always been competitive. Um, they've just not been healthy. So I guess who's gonna be talking about the Heat? Who's gonna be the group of guys who link up
Mm-hmm.
and team up in LA? Because that's their model. That's
Mm-hmm.
what like. That's literally what they're trying to do. They're trying to
They've got
open
to get
up.
their one first. Remember, Miami had their one. D Wade was with the Heat. They had their one, and then they just got to get the buddies there. They got to find their one again. Their Kawhi is the one for now, but he's not the one anymore. So he I think they'll be ready to cut ties with him come 2027. And then they got to find that one, and then that's how if the one is that level, if that like D Wade, that personality, that talent level, then you can just build off around that. That's kind of the next trick. But again, they're also in a position where they are going to have to find that in the free agent market for the next while because they ain't got no draft picks.
Nothing. Yeah. I'm just looking here. There's a lot of names. And I mean, the talent has flattened out across the league where it's like, we don't have the same, like, oh, it's the LeBron here. But I mean, Giannis does have his player option. Be kind of crazy for him to decline it. Anthony Davis has his player option that year. Jimmy Butler, Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, Paul George,
Bring him back.
Brad Beal,
Bring him back. They want to pay him
Donovan Mitchell.
at 34. Bring him back. Bring Paul George back at 37.
Zach LaVine at that point will be 32. Luca will be 28. Trae Young will
Luka.
be Ingram, Kyrie Irving, Rudy Gobert, Jalen Green's a player option, Drew Holiday's a player option, Julius Randle's a player option. There's a lot of player options this year. Jeremy Grant's a player option,
Yeah, there's a lot.
DeJounte Murray, Hero, Hartenstein. It's actually kind of crazy. RJ Barrett, Miles Bridges, DeMar DeRozan will be 38 by then. He'll still be getting buckets. Cam Johnson, DeAndre Hunter, Dylan Brooks, team option for Josh Hart. Uh, Keldon Johnson. We'll see how he continues to develop. Like there's actually this is kind of crazy. Lou Dort, unrestricted. How are they going to pay him?
And even imagine this insane scenario that I don't believe will happen, but imagine Nikola Jokic was in play in 2027.
Wasn't?
Was in play.
Was it? No, dude, no way.
Imagine. Stranger things have happened. I'm not
Straight.
saying I don't believe it will happen. I think he will sign it because the contract he can sign with the Nuggets is something absolutely ridiculous.
What, like Calvin Booth shows up to Serbia and like shoots his horse? Like what? Why would he leave Denver? That would be crazy. I just that would be unimaginable.
Never know, bro. You just never know.
You do never know. Aaron Neesmith as well will be up. If he keeps getting better with the way that his contract could look, um, and Asar as a restricted free, they'll probably keep him. This is okay. That's you can literally recreate this entire like it's gonna be crazy for them. Like I don't think any team has literally gone into a a free agency with zero roster spots. That would be I think that would just be
Except for
impossible
Zubac.
because
Zubac is actually
is he the
contracted
only one?
through. I think he's
Oh,
through
okay.
till 2028.
Okay.
But
Okay.
literally, Kawhi, Harden, Bogdanovich, Brooke Lopez, Derek Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, they're all done 2027.
Yeah. I mean they would be major, especially with how just oppressive the CBA is on these teams to keep their guys. I mean, especially for the young guys, the restricted free agents, like if they're not locked up, how different would that situation look? So that big term, they're such an interesting team from the cap perspective, like what they're going to be able to do in a couple of years. And I think they're just content with, like they said, maybe they're going to be the Heat. They're going to be Heat of the West, and they're going to have a great pitch of their ownership, their leadership, their coaching, their arena, and their brand. Like their brand is I still hate their logo. I think it's one
Yeah,
of the
it's
worst
still
logos in
okay.
the
It
league.
still sucks,
But
but yeah.
their brand of basketball, what they're about.
And they still got to sell those guys on. You can be the guy that finally brings us that chip, and you can live forever in history. And that's got to mean something to somebody out there. They just got to find that one guy. But let's finish out this team discussion and talk the Grizzlies. They were doing pretty good last year. It was looking good for a long while. They were up around the 2, 3, 4 seed for most of the season. Then it all just went to hell. They fired Taylor Jenkins. Apparently everything was really bad there. Then the GM comes out and basically just says that they're not even close. That was, I think, the quote from him that they're not even close to being a contender. They pay Jaren Jackson Jr. They trade Desmond Bain. Like, what do we think about this Grizzlies team? Because they've gone from a team that we thought was just having that one-off year due to injuries, and now it's a team that feels like they've taken another step back.
Yeah, it's really tough to say. I think that they're in a weird place right now in a Western Conference with a ton of talent on their team. Like the talent of Ja Morant is undeniable. Question is whether that is a championship level talent. Is Jaren Jackson Jr. is he gonna want to stick around? I mean, he clearly wants to stick around for this contract. Um, what's this program going to do? Are they going to be able to turn things around? I think the answer is maybe. I don't think that last season was a great reflection on their just togetherness.
Hmm.
There's too much defensive talent on that team to be that bad defensively and inconsistent defensively. Um, I think that there is not that same level of dominance that you got from John Morant.
He played
It felt
50
different.
games.
Yeah. So can he continue to be this type of player, this high flying athlete, electric athlete, but stay healthy enough to actually help his team contribute? Um, but I mean they've got good players on this roster. They've got a path forward. I like their draft pick. I like Cedric Howard. I like what you saw from the rookie Jalen Wells. He's a starter in this league. Um,
Second round pick that started what did he start? Started 52 games last year, was
yeah,
it? No,
yeah,
74
he's
games.
fantastic.
74
Yeah,
games last year he started.
I think they're really missing him coming into the postseason as well. I think they would have had a chance to do a little bit more with him there. And Santi had a career year. Brandon Clark just getting right. Zach Edey will have another year under his belt. So I mean, they have young guys that are going to continue to develop. But the question is Ja Morant the answer?
John, JJ, and Triple J are still there. So
That's
you're
their
like
identity.
they're still like they're still like they're established players in this league. Like they want to be competing to win. But like I'm like turning and I'm more excited about the trio of Edie, Jalen Wells, and Gigi Jackson. Like I'm really excited to see what we get more from Gigi Jackson because as a rookie he looked great. Then I'll see the injuries that kept him out the first half of his rookie season. Then the injuries were kind of depleted his second year. So you're kind of a little bit worried that that's kind of a pattern that's forming. Injuries going to hold him back, but I still think he's got a hell of a lot of talent, and I would love to see him be in a position to really deliver in his third year, and hopefully he's able to stay healthy throughout it. Like that, I'm excited about their young core, but it's like, how can you balance like developing these young guys while also still trying to remain competitive and still like building around Jaren Jackson Jr. and Jam Morant? It's a fine balance to run. It's tough to have your cake and eat it too, you know.
Yeah, it's I think they'll keep going. I think they'll keep going. I think that they're in the middle.
Hmm.
And because you can't get rid of your brand.
Yeah.
I think that John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies are inseparable right now. It's kind of like it almost feels like a Trae Young Atlanta Hawks question of like he gets us so far, but is it far enough? Especially in the Western Conference. Like that's the main issue. Um, I think we'll get to see what this team looks like under new coaching and get a good sense of like how much of that had to do like with how much coaching had eroded trust. Is there a new sense of rejuvenation in the team where they have that same level of competition day in, day out? Because it's hard to just chalk things up to, oh, they weren't trying hard enough, they weren't really in it. But the level of competition, like game to game, so varied. You never
Hmm.
knew what level of defense you're going to get with the Grizzlies. You never knew what level of engagement you're going to get. And I can kind of see the vision forward. We know how good they can be. Last year was a big question mark, and there wasn't a lot of answers for it. But we'll see.
No, it's gonna be interesting to see what they're like moving forward. Obviously, new coach, little things like that, like the new rookies, like the return of Gigi Jackson, the second year of Jalen Wells. Hope can Jam Morant stay healthy for a year? Can obviously Jaren Jackson Jr. had the turf toe. See like how like is he going to be healthy to go from the start of next season? It's going to be really interesting to see the Grizzlies and how they kind of play out. Like you said, especially in the big bad Western Conference. But let's get to your dream topic for the show. Let's talk about your beautiful summer league. Hit me. What do you got for me?
Okay, well, listen. Well, I've toned things down about a lot of players, but I will say I just wanted to add an anecdote from myself in that the reason why I think Summer League is beautiful is that it it allows for you to dream up hope for hopeless teams, especially like the Chicago Bulls. And I think it's just a case study in the feeling of it. Because a guy like Noah Senge, who the Bulls draft, you have a lot of questions about, and you're not really sure like what this guy's going to be like, how's he going to fit with the team, like what's his long-term potential, and especially a guy who plays in Europe, like all right, let's see him play against NBA players. But it's fun to see the flashes, man. It's fun to envision what this team could be, especially with the pairing of Modest and Asenge, a guy who like the biggest question is like, all right, super raw, like he's very good in the open court. He's very good at drawing contact. He's no fear in getting into the paint. He's this big, long wing, like kind of he looks up to the likes of Siakam. And you love that. Like looking at his body and the way he plays, this kind of fluid athlete with limbs that go everywhere. That's kind of his mold. And to see him be like a willing shooter and to see like him play alongside Matas, a guy who I think has big things in store for him in his second year, that's exciting. So I think it's exciting to get a taste of what you can envision the future be when you have a rookie and you have a second year player and they nearly combine for 60 points. Um, I think it's gonna be fun, man. I think this team that has shown that under Billy Donovan, Kobe White, Josh Giddey out there, how fast that they can play. They can play like a Pacer style of basketball. How that's going to fit now that you added another long athlete in Asenge, who's I think a big question mark. I love these kind of draft picks because there's always like guys like he's like a foreign player. We don't really know much about him, and it's a big swing upside pick that maybe that's a bust, but high potential. So when you see a little bit of flashes of that in summer league, and you see that that is going to be translated to the floor, like that's a skill that he's going to be able to walk in day one, get on the floor, and be able to showcase that. That's exciting. That's exciting to me.
No, that's fair. And like I'm super excited about Bacelis as well. Like he's the guy you want to believe in. Like you would like I would love nothing more for than him to become like a legit like franchise player for Chicago Bulls. Obviously a kid who like grew up in Chicago. He's the guy you want to believe in like to come good. And like I don't know if you've seen this, but obviously he signed with Reebok last year. I just been watching that show on Netflix where Shaq and Iverson like taking back over Reebok and looking to sign guys. They liked Buzelis. They see him as a guy who can do a little bit of everything. They see him as a guy who could be the face of their shoe. So like when you get that sort of hype from two legends of the game, like it's hard not to get a little bit excited and really it's going to be cool to see what he can do next year. And hopefully if he's gets more opportunities to do more and more, and they really put him in position to show that he can be like the next guy for the Chicago Bulls team, a team that are desperately crying out to find a next franchise player for sure.
Yeah, and let's not forget. I mean that's a guy who is a projected to be like a top three pick until he went to the G League, and then the shooting is a big question mark. It's like wow, like this guy has terrible shooting metrics, and he showed in the NBA that level spacing that he can shoot, and that he's going to continue to get better. Like his form got better, his decision making got better, and defensively, like how good he can be. And I think you envision a team where you have a guy like Buzelis who can initiate some on the ball, but also be like this positionless wing who could defend really like two through four and some of the small fives. And then Asenge, kind of the same deal, like a positionless forward who could switch two through four, two through five. And those are the kind of guys that you would love to see this team build around. It's a modern NBA style run and gun type of thing. And hopefully Billy Donovan finally has a team that continues to buy into this vision, because I feel like there's always been, when Levine was there, when it was his show, DeMar DeRozan's show, there wasn't that same level of spark that you got. And I feel like this team is a little bit more together. And who cares? I don't care that it's not going to be a championship team. You want to see a team get an identity. You want to see a team like build into that. Because the Pacers, I mean, that's what the Pacers did, and I think that's why I love their story so much, because I think it's the most reasonable approach that I think franchises should be taking. Is hey, like what is your identity? Can you build on that? Maybe there's a star out there that matches that you put yourself in position. Obviously, you do the right thing to keep your books clean and to do that.
Finding the
But
star before they're a star is also very helpful, you know.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But I think what we've seen over the last several years is the Nets just detonated their identity, and they grabbed a ton of stars, and
Twice.
then
They
yeah,
did it twice. And hopefully they're learning now, but who knows with Brooklyn.
and then what happened, right? What's been the brightest spot about the Clippers? It's not been the shining. Obviously, it's sad that you didn't get those moments with Paul George and Kawhi, and maybe you should have. But there, it's been them being these grinders. It's them developing this identity who they are. And I feel like a lot of teams don't necessarily have that. You look across the league, you look at the Hornets. It's like who are they? The Wizards, who are they? Right? Like not a lot of teams have their team brand. So it's it'll be nice to finally have some semblance of like identity for this Bulls team, and hopefully for there's a handful of other teams out there that I just mentioned, that are still looking for that hopefully they find that, even if it doesn't necessarily mean that you're contending now. When you have young guys, it's the first step.
No, no, that's definitely true. Yeah, got any more summer league pointers you want to hit on, or we finish out the show with our breakout list?
Um, well, let's finish out the uh the list. I got two guys left. I mentioned Jared McCain. My outside one was Terrence Shannon Jr. I got a couple more. I'm curious to see who you got.
We got I mentioned I was going to talk about the Hornets a little bit more. The Charlotte Hornets are very much a team that if this roster was on a different team, I'd be way more excited about it. Just the fact that it's in Charlotte doesn't really fill me with hope, but I like the way they're building out this roster. I know they don't have I know Mason Plumlee is their big man and their second round pick or whatever, but outside of that, I really like this roster for that Charlotte have. And if they can stay healthy next year, I think they could maybe make a little bit of noise in the Eastern Conference because I'm looking at a guy and I know this isn't a second year player, this is a third year player, but we didn't really get to see his second year. And I'm looking at Brandon Miller
Oh,
and I'm like, I really like what we saw of him as a rookie. Then last year he was averaging 21 points per game before he went down with that injury. And I think we see another year of growth out of him. I legit think he could be he could be pushing all-star levels in the Eastern Conference next year.
I mean, absolutely. Like I was big on Brandon Miller. Obviously, the didn't see enough of him this season. Um, Not a second year player, but I'll give you a pass at that.
Just because of
But
the
dude, like
injury, you know. So yeah,
fair. No, I'm very excited for him, and I think that if he continues to develop, I think he makes his team make a lot more sense. I think that LaMelo being the face of things is not necessarily working out because he's just so injury prone. We'll see if I think that's just the number one factor for the Hornets is can we get a full season out of LaMelo?
it's all the damn
Can
tattoos. All he ever seems to do is get tattoos. I see him get more tattoos than I do see him actually play basketball.
he's he's given honestly remember when like Chris Anderson, the Bird, when he was like it was a very taboo thing, like he's just like tatted. I feel like that's more common these days. It's interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but I love Brandon Miller's game. I think his on ball game is going to continue getting better. I think that we saw that he's a much better playmaker than we gave him credit for coming out of the draft. And for a guy who's like really polarizing for a pick there, I think has really demonstrated that, he does have like high all-star potential.
John
Um,
Knipple in there too. I'm excited to see what he does in
that's
Charlotte.
and I think he's one of those missing pieces. Like you have a guy who's going to be so solid, such a good decision maker, such a good shooter, and is not going to give up too much on the defensive end. That's what I'm saying, man. Like I think I would not sleep on this team. I think that their roster making a little bit more sense now. So if they can stay
Colin
healthy,
Sexton in there too. I mean, like I assume
why?
they play him a
Why did they get
six man
Sexton?
role. I
Why
mean, I
did they
guess
get
to
Sexton?
cover for Lamelo. I
That's fair. That's
guess.
fair. You're like, all right, he's going to miss enough time. We're gonna need another six man. Because I loved what we saw of Trey Man. I think
Yeah,
Trey
that's
Man
fair.
is
Yeah.
it's coming into his own there. He had some great moments last season. I I gotta say in the East,
Hmm.
Alex Sarr. I
Yeah.
hated
Hmm.
him coming to the league. Not hated. That's such a trauma. But like the, there's such an interesting like wave of like, ooh, this guy Alex Sarr. He's 7'1". He's got a 7'4" reach or wingspan, and he can shoot the ball. And then you look at his shooting numbers. You watch some of his tape. You look at his rebound rate. You're like, oh, is that really a lottery pick? He's huge and he's got crazy physicals, but is he actually going to be physical enough for the NBA? And I think we saw in the summer league, we saw in first part of the season that like there were those issues. Did see that he did get pushed around a bit. Did see that he was not super aggressive. But if you actually look at the whole season and you look at a couple of key stats, you look at his defensively, looking at his steal rate, his block rate, as a rookie, comparable to Mobley and Turner. Like defensively, he was very active, and that was like the main intrigue with him is this a guy? Yes, his offense could take a while, but are those tools actually going to translate? Is that athleticism going to translate to being a productive defensive playmaker? And it was, and I
Hmm.
think that is pretty exciting for a Wizards franchise that has not had a serious big like that in a long time, if honestly ever. I can't think of any. We're going back to like Martian Gortat. Is that their best big of the last 15 years or so? Um, but and then we talk about his threes. Yes, he shot 31%, but he took a huge volume. He shot 5.1 threes per game, taking a lot of above the break threes, and he was not shy about it. So I think that sky's really the limit for this guy who
So it's
I
inching
think
out
we
up
were
closer
not.
to league average. Like that's a huge swing. Like
Yeah. I really am interested to see if he continues to, grow his NBA frame and get comfortable with NBA physicality and really start to hone in on a shooting touch. Like I think he does have the skills, and I think our biggest concern about him was like, is he just not going to be able to hang in the NBA? Because it's so different from the NBL where he did struggle physically, but he adapted. So the fact that he adapted and he has those skills and like we have some metrics to compare him to some really, really good comparable bigs, like I think he could really continue to surprise us.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see him this year. Obviously, he continued to get better, like you said, made adjustments last year. He continued to get better as the season went on, and yeah, I'm really excited to see him this year. I'm really excited for the Wizards this year. The Wizards,
Yeah,
they're still going to
yeah,
lose games, but the Wizards are going to be fun this year, I think.
yeah. I can't stop hearing enough about Trey Johnson.
Yeah,
Like I'm I'm pretty intrigued.
my guy, Trey Johnson.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Everyone raves about his work ethic. Everybody. And that's like the first thing that any like scouts when you listen to interviews with scouts about what they talk about with him. And for a guy with his like ceiling, you imagine that he's going to reach it. And I guess his question is just like what his ceiling will end up being.
Hmm.
Um, but he's exciting. We'll see what we continue to get from Bilal. I think we saw little flashes of it, but he's still really exciting prospect for me. And Keyshawn, they got a lot of wings here though. And for Cam Whitmore, I hope he just blows the doors open. I hope
Yeah.
he comes into training camp and destroys everybody politely and was like, hey, like you
Just
just
go
traded
Draymond
from
on it.
like I want him to go into training camp and just be like, no, I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Like it's gonna take that level because he came in a situation in the Rockets where you could just see it, man. Like he was just struggling so much on that bench. Just in key moments, you could tell he wanted to be there. And the second he would get on the floor, like he's just like getting right to it, getting right to it. And I think he just has so much potential in this league. He's a guy that, hopefully that this Wizards roster, like I said, like you get these adults in the room that they can help these guys get competitive. But if he can learn to be a better decision maker, if he could adjust his pace, he could play a little bit more with slow down the pace a little bit, not just an open court athlete. I mean, the dude can shoot, dude can handle the ball. When he's engaged defensively one on one, like he is a brick wall. We know that he can play good defense. You know he's a good rebounder. Like he can do it all athlete with a jumper. Like that's the kind of perfect project that you want in a team like Washington, who they don't have a clear star yet. They got a lot of like intriguing young talent. Who's that next star? Like I will not rule out the possibility that maybe Cam Whitmore is just like this fun flash in the pan, super athletic, and maybe he just doesn't ever adjust to being like a true like on ball star. But I've seen enough flashes to think that it's possible.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I'm gonna cheat again because obviously I did talk about a couple of second year guys earlier, Jalen Wells and Kaleo Ware, but I'm gonna look at the Portland Trail Blazers, and I'm gonna look at two guys, Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp. I don't know if this is going to happen, but I like to believe that one of those guys is going to get given the keys this year, and we're gonna see if they can run with it. I think Shaden Sharp is more likely. I think we've seen growth from him year on year on year. Still a super exciting
Yeah.
player. Anthony Simons is gone. I know they brought in Drew Holiday. I still don't know what's going to happen with that. I could still see them trading him, but I think one of those guys is going to get the keys this year, be given the opportunity to really show that they've got star level potential. So that's a little battle between the two of them that I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching closely this year. I don't know who it's going to go to. My inkling is Shaden Sharp because I just think Scoot Henderson. I know he's still the number three pick, but he had such a tough year last year. He really hasn't shown enough to believe it's going to be him. I think we've seen more from Shaden Sharp, but it's going to be those two guys are still guys that I still watch and still think there's something more there and we need to see it.
I want to believe, and I think we definitely saw that Scoot improved. Scoot improved as a playmaker, decision maker. The game slowed down a little bit. Turnovers came down, better playmaker, a little bit more steady on the ball. Uh, I really want to believe in Shaden, man. Like I was so high on Shaden, I'm still high on Shaden. Like you look at that level of athlete, like a on-ball wing, and the amount of athleticism he has, and the way he can get to a shot, just hasn't been consistent last season. And I'm a big believer in him. It's something you just need to see. You need to see that growth, and in wings, especially a guy like him who is so young and and this was like the big question mark of him coming to league is like, hey, like he didn't play a year of basketball. Like,
Yeah,
is he? How long is it going to take for him? He could be a 4-year project. You know, could be looking at year 4 where it's like, oh, now things are coming together. Um,
that's what this
I
is.
I think, yeah, I think my answer. Well, I guess since we're doing year 4, like I think the big breakout is Darius Garland next year. Apparently we don't have rules anymore when we do this, so
Darius Garland
uh,
is not in his fourth year, man.
whatever. We're breaking all the rules. Donovan Clingan, though, he's a second year player.
Yeah,
He's a second year player.
I'm looking forward to seeing him get more opportunities now. I think it's well, obviously they got the other guy from China now as well, but it's gonna be him and like Robert Williams is still there, but like Robert Williams is always injured anyway, so you really have to worry about him too much.
No,
Like
get him
Aiton's
off the
gone at
team.
least, so
Get him somewhere. Get him to a contender. I want to see Rob do something successful in small minutes. But Klingon, we saw minutes on the floor with him last year, and the Blazers have had this very fascinating turnaround where they've created identity. Talk about identity. This young team, I think they're doing it right. Like they figured out who they are, and defensively, dude, like they have got some dogs. And you see minutes when Donovan Clingan's on the floor, and feel like I'm not exaggerating where it feels like a Rudy Gobert effect. Like
that's what he's supposed to be.
when he's roaming the paint, nobody's driving. Like he's swallowing up shots at the rim. He is really good on his feet, like surprisingly mobile for his size. And I think that was a question mark coming into league is if he is going to really be able to translate with kind of his slow plodding nature. But no, like he's good in the drop, he's good on the weak side, and I think he's shown that for a rookie center, like he can really play in his second year, we'll see if he makes that sort of jump. I think it's usually like 2, 3 years until we start to see like these centers really come into their own. But I'm excited to see if he does that a little bit earlier. He's a little bit more mature for his age.
Yeah, like let's see what the Blazers do this year. Obviously, they had a nice little turnaround at the end of last year. Can they build on that and maybe flirt with the play-in this year? Let's see.
Yeah, dude, Yang Hansen, are you buying it?
Hanson Yang, whichever one it is.
Are you buying it?
No.
You're not buying it?
I mean, I like what we're seeing, but let me see it on an NBA floor.
That's fair. That's fair. Um, I I think it's still crazy to me that they took him 16th and dude just came out of the stands. And Jokic obviously was drafted way later. So I mean, Blazers are like, all right, we're not going to miss our Jokic. We're not going to make the mistake every single other team made. But there's an interesting situation where Jokic was on a team with Nurkic, both looked at as talented guys. Nurkic the more obvious talent, and Klingon's kind of the more obvious talent. I think he's going to have a great season this year. Who has the higher upside?
Mm.
Who do they end up choosing? That's going to be interesting to watch if Hansen continues to make some strides and he's like he really can pass at this level and he really does have that finishing footwork as a dynamic like playmaking center. That becomes kind of fascinating to me. Is where do they go with that over the next couple of years?
That could be interesting. That could be interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting comparison there. I like that. But yeah. All right. You got any more before we finish up?
The last one, and he could be the most intriguing piece to really this entire season, is Reed Shepard.
Mm.
Things were a little too much for him last season. You saw in the minutes he got, teams immediately picked on him. Come here, get in the post.
What
Really,
was Reed Shepard again? Wasn't he the Summer League MVP or
was the Summer League MVP. He was Summer League MVP. Things got a little too physical, a little too big for him uh, on his NBA minutes. But we know his talent level. I think I'm not deterred by what we saw last season because he's still a bit small. I need to get a little bit of weight under him. He needed to get a little bit more experience. And dude, I mean, this team is really, really needing him to come on.
Hmm.
They can't rock with Fred forever. Fred can't be the only one who's like a true playmaker, perimeter shot creator on this team. They need a guy like Reed Shepherd to show up. He is what feels kind of like a missing piece to not just the now, but the future for this team. Um, with again the reality that like Fred's not gonna be there forever. This is a young team, and who's gonna be that running mate with Amen Thompson and these other young guys? And I think that this organization speaks so highly of what he's capable of doing, and I think he's gonna be playing at least 20 minutes a night this season.
Hmm.
You saw enough flashes last season, the way that he can play in pick and roll, the way that he can take deep shots. He can be a deep shot creator like Fred VanVleet. Um, and at times once he got a little bit comfortable, how he can play in the middle and how he can snake the pick and roll. Like he can be like a real dynamic playmaker for this team and be like an off ball movement shooter. If he can come in and he can really contribute that way, like maybe his breakout isn't that he's going to be as a second year player like the highest point per game, but the highest impact for a team that's trying to go for a championship right now. If he comes in and does that, I can't imagine a bigger sophomore breakout than a rookie who pretty much only was really getting serious minutes as a G League player, then coming in as being a serious rotation guy and actually making an impact on potentially a team headed for Western Conference final.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think he could have such a big year this year. I'm still so excited about him as a player. I know I was shitting on him about being G League or Summer League MVP and all that, but I'm still very, very intrigued by Reed Shepherd, and like I would love to see him being capable of playing like legit minutes within this Rockets team this year, playing like a guy like that and coming out in the second year, playing on a winning team and contributing to that winning. Like that's such an intriguing prospect. And like you said, like we saw the flashes there that next year we can see him become that legit role player. And if we see that, like that helps take Houston to another level. And I'm super excited to see what Reed offers this year. But I think I'd agree with you. Yeah, he probably could be the main big one of the year, the big breakout star that could get the most kind of shine and be the most impactful. I think I agree with you on that, Mark.
Yeah, they did need Devin Booker when they got him. They got their next Kentucky star right there.
Yeah, man, I don't think Devin Booker's missing out after he signed that 2 year, $145 million contract neither. I think
Probably
he's
not. Yeah, I
I
think
think he's
he's fine.
okay. I think he's okay where he's at. That's the way that goes. But yeah. And that's fun. That was a long pod. We got into a lot of stuff there, but it's always fun to talk hoops with you. There's so much going on. It's the off season. There's still so many question marks. Still so many things that are going to change. But thankfully, we'll be here to cover it all for you when these things go down. Will the Warriors trade for a star? Will the Miami Heat land a star? Will the Lakers make any moves? Will Luka sign with the Lakers this year? There's so much still to happen. He's eligible for an extension on August 2nd, so that's a date to keep in mind. What's going to happen? How much longer is all this drama with LeBron going to go on for? Probably until the season begins and he's still in a Lakers uniform, but still so much going on, so much fun summer league action for everyone that isn't me. Um, but Chris, as always, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you all so much for sticking with us. Remember, if you like what you're hearing, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment. You're on Spotify, make sure you leave that 5-star review. You do that, we'll keep producing that content. But just remember that the Summer League sucks unless you're a Chicago Bulls fan. That is a important message that we have to leave everyone with from this pod. But
And somebody sign Cam Thomas, please. Cam Thomas knows how to take every shot and love every moment.
bingo. Peace out.